Alright guys, we are in for game number 2. Looks like we are playing second. Opening hand, we will keep 2 lands. We do have drops on turn 1 and 2, which is fantastic. Can't complain about that. It would be even better if we had seen a... even better if we had seen a copy of Midnight Guard. Turn 1 Fume Spitter. That probably tells me this is Dimir Trinket. That is not something that you see happening in mono black control. It could be, of course, Tortured Reanimator as well. There's very few blacklists that actually run Fume Spitter, which is unfortunate because it is a fantastic card in my opinion. I've occasionally seen it in like teachings UB control. It's not something that I had expected. Alright, draw into the wall here. I think at this point in time, we'll put down Standard Bearer instead. If we can use that to eat some kill spells early on, it could be great. Like I said, still at this point, I'm assuming it's going to be Dimir Trinket because that is kind of the premier deck that you see with Fume Spitters. But he's only played Swamps at this point, so we can't make any judgments either way. It does look like it's going to eat a kill spell, though. Yeah. Alright, that's okay. That's what his job was. I will actually be a little surprised if this is mono black control, which it seems to be, just because Fume Spitter is something that's not really ran that often. Palace Guard. Alright, Spectre's going to be a bit of trouble because of the fact that we cannot deal with flying. That's one big downside of this deck, because you think about matchups such as like Delver Blue, where every creature in it is flying. No third land is not good. So you look at Delver Blue and you have, 2 copies of the fairies. You have, 4 Spellstutter sprites. You have 4 Cloud of Fairies. You run 4 Delvers which fly. They occasionally run Spire Golems. They run Stitch Drakes. All of these are flyers. It's very important to have some kind of defense against those, and you really don't. What your best defense against those is going to be stuff like Sandstorm. And the fact that they have like 1 toughness. Alright, still no third land. All of a sudden my keeping this hand does not look so great. In retrospect, I still think it presented with that hand again. I would probably still keep it. 2-land hand, I had a 1-drop and a 2-drop. I really don't think you can complain much about that. Yeah, this is definitely going to be some form of mono black control. It's definitely a more interesting list. A couple of them these days are starting to run the bog, which I think is great. I say probably more than people care to hear that graveyard control is a little underestimated in Pauper. It's not something that needs to be completely dominant in a sideboard, but it is something that people should at least be aware of. Gonna use this Evolving Wilds and find our forest, just so if the combo does come up, we can get that out there. This is a hard position because my opponent's at 4 land. He's got 5 cards in hand, which means that, man, it's brutal, because if I put out the guard, odds are in a mono black control deck that one of those 5 is a kill spell. Pretty good. The only benefit would be if it was an edict and I could sacrifice the wall. So what I'm going to do here is put out the Palace Guard first. Hope to draw out a kill spell on it, which it looks like it will. Yeah. So I mean it's not good. I guess I can wait for a point in time where I have enough mana available to play multiple things at once. It's tough against this. This is a hard matchup. I think I kind of alluded to that in the deck tech. Them having so much control options is, it's great because you can have those targeted down with stuff like the Flag Bearers, but at the same time, this will be Ghostly Possession. At the same time, it's definitely a frustrating thing because they can do a pretty good job of still killing off Midnight Guard, even getting through the Flag Bearers. Thinking of the sideboard, I definitely am going to up the count to... We might as well do this. I'm up the count of Coalition Honor Guards to 4, definitely. You got to bring in the 2 Acolytes. Will be very, very important. It's amazing playing mono black. I it's one of my favorite decks, and I've played it a lot in Pauper, and it's definitely amazing how much that stupid 1/1 protection of black guy is just like so almost overpowered in the matchup, because that simple ability to give another creature protection from black, alone on its own, a guy that's a 1/1 protection from black is annoying, but it's not a game changer. It's not going to completely win the game for you. On the other hand, if you give that creature an ability to give everything else protection from black, then it becomes incredibly difficult, because if you don't get into edicts like these Geth's Verdict, you're screwed, because you can't kill off any of your opponent's creatures. All he has to do is leave a couple of white mana open, and all of a sudden you're stuck. You have to kind of wait for an opportune time where he's tapped out of white, or burn through a whole bunch of spells trying to get him to get that point where he's tapped out of white. So clearly opponent's playing mono black control. This is going to be game over. We're just going to pass the turn here. So the Fume Spitters definitely threw me off a little. Like I said, it's not something that's very common with mono black control, but that's alright. Definitely one of the tough matchups. I think mono black control and mono blue control are tough matchups for this deck. I would say those are the two toughest, because of the fact that mono blue has all the flying and mono black has all the kill. So the deck has a lot of great plays against things like aggro, when you have that combo with Palace Guard and Heart of Light and stuff like that. But it does definitely lose out a bit on stuff like this. Even Storm, I feel it has a decent matchup, though disappointed that Thunderbear doesn't work the way I think it should. Let's see. We'll take out Radiant's Judgment. Not going to have anything to kill with it. Definitely got to leave Tragic Poet as a full count, because of the fact that it's going to... we'll take that out. Because of the fact that he has every opportunity to kill something as I cast the Presence. We will play first. You know what, I'm going to keep this hand. It's a little bit of a risk. We have 4 lands available to us, which sucks. 3 is usually the good place to be, but we do have some early plays. We can get the wall in on the first turn, or I'm sorry, the second turn, and then attach the Heart of Light to it. Evolving Wilds will get us a second white, which will thin things out. I mean, having 4 lands is okay, but the fact that 2 of them are forests is a little disheartening. Standard Bearer becomes less important in this matchup when he's running the Fume Spitters. That's definitely something that I was not prepared for, because, having the Standard Bearer is great. It eats kill spells, but if you've got something, if you're running a whole bunch of the Edicts, and you're running a whole bunch of things like Fume Spitter, you don't need a targeted kill spell to get rid of those Standard Bearers, and all of a sudden you're free to cast those kill spells on anything else. Alright, let's get rid of the forest. You only need 1. Alright, so we'll put this on the wall. At the very least, the wall is out of the range of grasp. This is just tempting him, saying, hey, if you got a hail spell, you have to kill this wall, because it can infinitely block all of your creatures. It's essentially becoming a very expensive version of Standard Bearer or Coalition Honor Guard. Rager comes down. Sack lands. Obviously going to take this, get planes. And at this point, again, the sack lands are this is one of the reasons I kind of appreciate the fact that it's got 8 of those in the deck. Start to thin out those lands, because I want to get to something with a little bit more power behind it. Alright. I guess it's got to be the land. Even Cry of Contrition is something that not typically played in mono black control. There's a lot of better discard options, I always feel. Alright, that sucks. Yeah, this is why Mono Black Control is such a hard matchup, is because they run they run like 10 to 15 creatures, and then the rest is swamped out with kill spells. All of their non-creature spells are going to be targeted kill. There's 4 draw cards in there. And it becomes definitely a very, very difficult matchup when you're trying to try and keep something on the field. Now I'm going to get land swamped. I'm going to just hold on to these to keep him guessing. I really don't know what else to say about this one. Just in an unfavorable position. The matchup, like I keep saying, not great. It would be nice to get some creature on the field to at the very least eat kill spells. Yeah, we're gonna run into a lot of dead cards because you draw into enchantments without creatures, and there's nothing you can do. I apologize. I know I'm kind of going quiet on here, but you reach these points in the game where there's just nothing you can do. I gotta sit back and take some damage until I can hopefully draw into something. And at this point in time, he's just stacking up his hand with kill spells. I think I know I'm quite a pessimist in general, but I feel like this game is already over. You really want to be able to keep something on the battlefield, and Mono Black Control wants to keep your battlefield clean. So, yeah, another enchantment. At this point in time, I'm keeping the land in hand just to have a discard option. If he does get another discard spell, then I can just get rid of a plains, and it's not going to be so critical. But this is definitely game over and down to 1 life. I don't even think I'm going to draw into another creature before that happens. Yeah, well, there you go, Sign in Blood. Alright, guys, so that was the second game. Crushed right there, but I think it shows kind of what I expected to happen, is that Mono Black Control and Mono Blue Control would be tough matchups. So, again, doing something different. This is the second game video. I am doing a third one. It's just going to be a couple of replays to try and show some more interactions of the deck, show it working in different ways, something like that. So, hopefully, I can appease both parties. So, check out all those videos. As always, the third one is fantastic, let me just say. No, just kidding. But check them out. Check out the article. You know the drill.